This basically confirms it. We have a major update to go over regarding the New York Jets' future and how it just got severely impacted in a major way. We're going to discuss how Darren Mougey now has all the cards in his hands and why we could basically see exactly what's going to happen in the NFL draft in a couple of months right now, with things feeling like a certainty. Guys, there is a lot to go over surrounding this, and we are not going to waste your time. We're going to jump right into things because, look, as of right now, where everything stands, we know that there has been a ton of talk surrounding Dante Moore, who really has been one of the top names in college football and one of the guys that has been connected the most to the New York Jets. With the Jets having the second overall pick, they won't be landing Fernando Mendoza. Mendoza will be going first overall to the Las Vegas Raiders, and all signs have pointed to, as long as Dante Moore declares, then ultimately he will be getting drafted by the Jets second overall. Moore is really one of those guys who, if he declares, he'll be a top pick, but there's also tons of room for him to not take another year and then declare next season. However, this year, obviously, again, guaranteed second overall pick. But now we are starting to see a major change in things because Oregon just got a new quarterback in Dylan Raiola, sorry. With that happening right now, things are really starting to look very differently because of Raiola going to Oregon, where Dante Moore was quarterback last season. So now things are getting interesting, but there also is a twist to this that nobody's really talking about. But before we get into all the news today, we're proud to announce this video is brought to you by Kalshi. And if you download it using the link below and put in the code DIGESTNFL, you will get $20 when you trade your first 100. Now, Kalshi, it's the largest prediction market in the United States. And on their platform, you can trade yes, no on real life events, whether that's the news, sports, the weather, elections, and pretty much everything. And whether you're in New York, California, Texas, or anywhere across the country, Kalshi is live in all 50 states. Now, this is great for sports fans, as you could trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances on a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. Now, this is excellent for sports fans, especially because the NFL playoffs are officially here and there is a lot of movement going on right now. And if you trade on Seattle, who has 20% of trades on them to win the Super Bowl with former Jets quarterback Sam Darnold, you will get $45 in return. Now, this is an excellent trade and one that I'm super interested in because the Seahawks look absolutely excellent right now. They have got a great defense and Sam Darnold has been doing a phenomenal job. And guys, if you want to get in on the action and get that $20 when you trade your first 100, put in code DIGESTNFL. Thank you to Kalshi, but guys, let's get into the video. We have a lot to go over. Now, obviously, with this happening, it will have a huge implication on not just the Jets, but Dante Moore overall. Now, first of all, the fact is, Oregon wanting Raiola definitely means that somewhere in their mind, they do think that this is it. They think that Raiola will be their quarterback next season. I know he's dealing with an injury, and he could take a bit of time to get back, but they definitely have an inkling or so that Dante Moore has played his last football game for Oregon. Because right now, again, when you're a top 2 overall pick, you're getting over $50 million guaranteed for the beginning of your career for the first 4 years. That is life-changing money, and there's no guarantee that Dante Moore becomes a top 5 pick next year. It shapes out with who needs a quarterback, and ultimately on top of that, how Moore plays next season, and which quarterbacks declare, who breaks out. I mean, nobody was pegging Mendoza to be the first quarterback off the board going into this season, so obviously things have changed. And in college football, they change fast, and guys break out, other guys disappoint, and we've seen that. So right now, with Moore being basically guaranteed to be second overall, that is honestly a really good sort of situation if you're Moore. Now, obviously, there's a lot to think about right now, considering Raiola has played 2 years straight. And obviously, again, he got injured this year, which did have an impact on things. And he started to get better. There's been a lot of talk about him, specifically on how he tries to emulate Patrick Mahomes, something which I was making the jokes about earlier, as we know. But look, with that, obviously, there is a lot to consider. Now, he announced his commitment to Oregon, but as Pete Thamel did mention, if Dante Moore returns, Raiola would be the backup in 2026 and take over as the starter in 2027. That is not an unheard of possibility, considering when we look at Dante Moore's stats, He did exactly that with Oregon. He did play a year at UCLA, started at quarterback, didn't necessarily have a great year, transferred to Oregon, was the backup, and then ultimately next year ends up breaking out. So what we saw was a complete turnaround for Dante Moore and for his career. Raiola may be willing to do that, and he definitely, if he took this Oregon situation knowing that really Moore has 2 more years of eligibility, it's always possible Moore sticks around for another year. However, again, in my mind, Oregon and everyone else knows that Dante Moore is going to ultimately declare. As PFF has it, Moore would be the 2nd overall pick by the New York Jets right here. And as they mentioned, as long as Moore enters the draft, the Jets will likely select whichever quarterback the Raiders don't take, and that will be Moore. Moore's 90.3 PFF passing grade is 5th amongst all quarterbacks in the nation this year, while his 30 big-time throws are tied for the most. Dante Moore had an excellent year, show that, and will be rewarded by being the 2nd overall pick to the New York Jets, trying to be just the next quarterback who tries to turn this New York Jets franchise around, something that many have failed at, whether that's Sam Darnold, who ended up being a good NFL quarterback elsewhere, whether that's Zach Wilson, who wasn't, whether that's Aaron Rodgers, who was great before and also good with the Steelers as well. We've seen a lot of success for these guys here. So it will be interesting to see how this all sort of works out and how everything kind of starts to turn. And I'm really, really interested in this whole situation. I think, to me, this means Dante Moore is going to certainly leave. It just kind of adds to it, especially because I've already assumed he was. As Alec Arend mentioned on Twitter, obviously Dante Moore's season didn't end the way anyone wanted, but he still threw for 3,565 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, and completed 71.8% of his passes, and is still being mocked at number 2 overall in the 2026 NFL draft after the Indiana game. So ultimately, if you're Moore, you take that chance. You go forwards and you go on with this. Now, the Jets, they did sign Bailey Zapp to a contract. It's not going to affect at all Dante Moore. It's just more to see if the Jets have found a backup quarterback for them to use, who did have some potential not that long ago. The Jets want Zapp within their practice squad. He was with the Browns practice squad last year around, and now the Jets clearly have interest in him as a quarterback who obviously did have that great year at Western Kentucky. Ultimately, it'll be an interesting thing to sort of see. And we did see Rich Cimini discuss the idea of Moore and sort of warned the Jets about him, saying he is only 20 years old. He has got only 18 college starts. And if you look at the recent first-round quarterbacks with fewer than 20 starts, it is not a promising field. I'll read some names off. Anthony Richardson, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Kyler Murray, Dwayne Haskins, Mitch Trubisky, Ryan Tannehill, and Cam Newton. That is going back to 2011. All the first-round quarterbacks with fewer than 20 college starts. The only star of that group is Cam Newton. Ryan Tannehill had a solid long career, but also didn't really stick around with the Dolphins forever. And the rest of them were either busts or underachievers. So beware of the college quarterback with a very few starts. I mean, obviously, Anthony Richardson, there's a lot of jokes that he's the worst quarterback ever, which he's young. It's a similar situation. You could see why people would be a little bit nervous about Richardson. Trey Lance had a lot of the skills, but didn't really have high competition, which kind of threw people off. Mac Jones seems to start to get it together, but definitely was a draft bust for the Patriots. Kyler Murray looked good for a little bit, but ultimately now there's a lot more questions. Dwayne Haskins, may he rest in peace, obviously didn't really ever get it going at all in Washington and was not long for that starting job. And Mitch Trubisky obviously has been mainly a career backup, as he did get replaced by Justin Fields pretty quickly on. So obviously there is a lot to think about with this going forwards, but I do still think if you're the Jets, you got to take Dante Moore here. I don't really see any other options at this point. I know there's the idea of taking Trinidad Chambliss, who right now, I mean, you never know where that guy could get drafted. He could get drafted in the first round. He could get drafted in the 6th round. It's impossible to tell with him. He's a very strange case. The Jets could look at Ty Simpson as well. I'm not a big fan of Ty Simpson, but we're ultimately going to see how this all works out. Hopefully that Dante Moore does work out, because I'm sure he's the Jets pick. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a wonderful day. Go Jets.